Hey everyone, this is Coloring Chemist. My name is Connie and welcome back to my channel. I was curious. Kind of comes with the territory. For those of you that don't know, I am my day job is as a chemistry teacher, so I'm very much science minded. So I don't know. Not to say that science has the lock on curiosity, but scientists tend to be curious. And for those of you that are maybe new to my channel, you might not know, I really love coloring with pigment pens. Now, my first love is these. These are the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist brush pens. These are the ones with the teeny little nib. I love coloring with these. You can do amazing things with these on a fair number of different coloring book types of paper. Not so great on the cheap kind of CreateSpace print, Amazon print pages, but you know, other papers like Joanna Basford, Rita Berman, you can really do some great things with them. Now, Faber-Castell has 60 of these, 61 technically, if you count the white. Actually, 66, because I think there's some metallics as well. But they are pricey. And so recently, Staedtler has come out with their own kind of version of that. And they call them their pigment brush pens. I think they also, if you look up Staedtler multi-ink, these will come up as well. Very similar, different looking body. The Pitt Pens, the body, and then there's a little, well, you can't see it on mine because I put a sticker there. There's a little color kind of plastic bit at the end of the cap that tells you the color. On the Staedtler pens, it's the cap and then this little end bit that give you an indication of the color. But it does have a color name and number. Yes, it does. The name is right underneath Staedtler. This says olive green. The numbers over here, it'll say Art NR 371-57. The number after the dash is the color number. So 57 is Staedtler's number for olive green. The Pitt Pens are light fast. They are India ink, waterproof. Some of them are more light fast than others. There's a star rating system. These Staedtler pens also have a star rating system. Again, some are more light fast than others. These don't say India ink, so I don't know exactly that that's what's in here, but they perform very similarly to the Pitt Pens. So I would say there are slight differences, and the more I use the two of them, the more I'm noticing. But you are definitely able to use them kind of interchangeably. You can use them together. I actually blend right on the paper using them, and you can blend out a Staedtler pen with a Pitt pen or a Pitt pen with a Staedtler pen. It doesn't really matter. Staedtler currently has 36 colors of their pigment brush pens, although here, exciting, they're coming out with some new colors, so we'll have to see how that goes. But a viewer had commented on, might even have been, I did a series of 3 videos where I looked at these pigment pens, what they are, how I color with them, etc. And I'll try and remember to link that in that set of 3 videos in the description below. But a viewer had mentioned that TooliArt had a set of 36, and this was the biggest set I could find, and they called them, it says on my little Amazon thing here, dual tip brush pens, double-sided, pigment-based, and then in brackets, non-acrylic brush markers. So, pigment-based. Now, lots of you I know have been, there's been kind of a thing in the coloring world lately where folks have been getting back into, or maybe they always were into, the water-based markers like Tombows. Zig has, you know, something similar to that. Lyra also has, right? These are all water-based, ink-based markers. I mean, Crayola Super Tips is the same thing, right? It's just that Super Tips have that kind of almost little triangle end on them, whereas, you know, something like the Lyra or the Zig or Tombows, they have, you know, a nice brush end. Now, all of these markers, except for the Zig, including, the super tips and the Tombos, have fiber nibs, which will eventually fray. These Zig ones do not. They have a foam rubber tip. Awesome pens. Anyway, I digress. But all of these pens, along with Tombos and that sort of thing, those are dye-based inks. And I also have a video where I talk about the difference between inks and pigments as color inks. Dyes and pigments, my goodness. Sorry, dyes and pigments as colorants. And I'll try and remember to link that below. And I try and look at it a little bit from a scientific viewpoint, but not too sciencey. So basically, in a few short words, dye colorants. So when you're talking about coloring something, you're going to have dyes or pigments. Dyes, by their nature, soak into whatever substrate you're putting them on. So in our case with coloring, it's going to be paper. So a dye-based ink soaks into the paper. The colorant soaks into the paper. You're not really able to move that colorant unless, sorry, there's been a glare this whole time, hasn't there? You're not really able to move the colorant with a dye-based ink unless you're working on like a coated or a sized paper. Then you can move, because basically a coated or a sized paper is holding, the colorant and the solvent, whether it be water or glycerin or whatever's in the pen. It's holding it all on the surface of the paper to letting you move it around. But if you don't have a coated or a prepared or sized paper, dye-based inks, sort of the minute you put the ink down on the paper, it's sort of down. You can't really move it. Pigment-based inks, you've got a tiny bit more playtime in terms of being able to put the ink down on the paper and move it. Because pigments, the colorant, pigment is a colorant, tends to sit on top of the paper a little bit longer. Now, the solvent carrying that pigment is going to go into the paper pretty quick. But anyway, sorry, that was not very short, was it? But suffice to say, pigment-based inks are A, more expensive, and B, you can just, there's a little bit more playtime when you're using them on paper. TooliArt is marketing these as pigment-based inks. Now, I haven't opened this yet, so I thought we'd do a little unboxing together. This is a set of 36, and it comes in a case, which is kind of nice. Tuli Art branding. All it says on here is flexible brush tip, non-toxic, acid-free, conforms to the ASTM standards there. There's full color range in 3 neons. Coloring, lettering, journaling, manga illustration, vibrant, fast-drying, water-based, non-toxic. I don't see anywhere on this packaging, and I'm going to put this over to the side because it's shiny there. I don't see where it says anywhere on the packaging that it's pigment-based. Now, looking, I don't know if you could see the picture on the box there. That looks like a pretty typical body for a lot of the sort of kind of white labeled, kind of generic, they're like Tombos, right? They're a water-based, dye-based ink kind of pen used for journaling, lettering. That's what that body type reminds me of. But this was, for 36 of them in a case, it was $19.99 US. I actually got it off Amazon US. I'm in Canada, if anyone's not aware of that. But we can order from Amazon US. We just pay a little bit extra for shipping. I couldn't find them on Amazon Canada, but they were on Amazon US. Now, you can get like, I'm going to put this knife away before someone, me, gets hurt. But you can get a set of water-based, dye-based ink, pens like 100, 120 for pretty cheap. So 36 of these for 20 bucks seemed actually more expensive in terms of that kind of, type of pen. So I thought, well, maybe they actually are pigment-based inks. If so, that's way cheaper than the Staedtler or the Pitt Pens. I have my doubts, but you know what? I'm curious. So let's take a look. Let's see what they look like. So we've got this case. We've got, I think this is usually the little insert that comes with most Tuli Art stuff. They're talking about the different things you can buy here. Yeah. See, now, so it's got their acrylics, right? You can get them in the medium, extra fine. They've got some metallics. Sorry, that's kind of shiny. The earth and skin, the black and the white. All this says is 36 dual-tipped brush pens, watercolor. It doesn't say anything about pigment. Interesting. So I may have spent $20 on some cheap watercolor markers. They come in a nice case. They're pretty. You know what? Let's grab some greens here and take a look. So I don't see any indication of color names or numbers on them. We've got a fiber tip end there. And then we've got a really fine tip there. Sorry if you can hear that, it's my printer. I printed something out just previously, and after I finished printing, 10 minutes later, it has to do a little, I don't know, calibrating thing. So I hope that's not too annoying. Yeah, I don't see any indication of color names or numbers. It says 1-4 millimeters. So, you would make a 1 millimeter line with that end. And, you've got a variable width line with the brush end. Yeah, there's no... Oh, I see. It says 1-4 up here, so that's your variable width line, and then it says 0.4 down at the other end. So then you can make a 0.4 millimeter line. That would make more sense. And then it just says dual tip markers, non-toxic, Tuli Art. I think these are just water-based markers. Now, I have some, this is just printer paper here. Yeah. Pitt pen and a Staedtler pen. Again, on printer paper, I don't know how much movement you'd get. See how I can blend that? So even on printer paper with true pigment ink, you're able to blend. Now, I kind of didn't do the same thing with the other one, did I? So we'll put a little bit of that down. Sorry, my printer's really going to town there. I don't know what it's doing. Yeah, I can't move that. So I'm thinking these are not pigment-based markers. I think they're just plain old water-based, ink-based, or dye-based inks, and they come in a nice case. So, but you know what? I thought we would, just for comparison's sake, because that is on kind of, just, it's, all this is just regular copy paper. Thought that we would do a little bit of coloring on. This is the Joanna Basford freebie that she had from Small Victory. She had a contest, I think, where you could enter. But I just printed this out. And I printed this out on Hammermill Smooth. So this is the paper that Jennifer Stay and Steve Stay recommend for marker coloring. Now, alcohol marker coloring, but all markers. It's very smooth. And because of that, we should be able to do some really great blending on here. And I'll show you with actual pigment pens. But you know what? We'll see if we can get a little bit of blending with the happening with these Tuli Art pens. So let us just grab my remote here, and we're going to come down. I'm going to take a look at some of these leaves here. So I think let's do just a really simple 2-color blend. And I will do a few leaves with some Pitt pens. I'll do a few leaves with some Staedtler pens, and then I'll even do a few leaves combining Pitt and Staedtler. And you'll see what I mean about the blending. So what I like to do when I'm working with Pitt pens and I want to blend on the paper is I take the caps off and I put them aside, and then I've just got both pens in my hand. You can do this one of two ways. You can put down a layer of your lighter color first, then put down a little bit of the darker color wherever you want it, and then go back to the lighter color and kind of use it to almost pull that darker color out. I usually also have off to the side a bit of scribble paper, because of course you want to scribble off your lighter color, because if you've used it to sort of, move that darker pigment around, it's going to have some dark pigment on it, so you just want to scribble that off. You can also just put the darker color down where you want it and use the lighter color to pull it out a bit. That actually doesn't move the darker color as much. Putting down a layer of the lighter color first, it's almost like putting a tiny little coating on the paper, and it allows your pigment to then just move more easily. But you can do that both ways. Let's do a couple more leaves here. I'm just doing a really simple blend. I'm doing kind of a darker color. By the way, this is Chromium Green Opaque 174. That's my darker color. Sorry, I shouldn't pause there. And to blend it out, I'm using May Green 170. Favorite Faber-Castell color. Love this color. So I'm just putting a little bit of dark at the base of the leaf and then pulling it out. So there's the Pitt pens. Now I'm going to use some Staedtler pens, pigment brush pens. We've got 51 and 57. 51 is called Willow Green. That's the lighter color. And 57 is that olive green that I had. Again, I take both caps off, put them aside. These two colors are pretty close to the Faber-Castell colors I was just using. They're a little different. So I'm going to put down, again, a little bit of lighter, put the dark on top, use the light to kind of blend it out a bit, or I can just put that dark color down first and then blend with the light. I actually find these Staedtler pens to be a little bit more blendable even than the Faber-Castell Pitt pens. And I think it feels to me like the Staedtler pens have a little bit more glycerin, maybe, in their ink. So they almost stay on top of the paper a little bit longer. But, I mean, it's a pretty fussy, picky little detail. They both the Pitt pens and the Staedtler, they're high quality, they're good inks. I mean, you can see we're getting really nice little 2-color blends on these leaves. And you can see how fast this goes. And I just keep switching. I've got the pen I'm not using in my left hand, and then I switch it out for the other one. Now, I've been doing this a while, so I've kind of gotten that, and then I always am reaching over to scribble off the lighter one. If you because you haven't got caps on these, you have to be careful to not drop them on the page you're coloring. Because if you drop them tip down, of course, they're going to get ink all over in places you don't want it. So something to watch out for. But, I mean, you can see we're getting some pretty nice blends there. So let's now I don't think, just look at my color choices here for the Tuli Art ones. That looks to me like a yellow-green. I think that's going to be a pretty big jump. So let's, just going to bring this page back for a second. So this was the yellow-green that I had before. That's a pretty big jump. If that's a bigger jump, then let's go back to that other green. I'm just trying to make it fair. Not that I don't think these are pigment-based. I know it says they are, but I don't think they are. Not in the sense that, you know, Pitt Pen ink and yeah, I mean, oops, sorry. Just looking. These aren't quite, I think we'll go with those two colors. They're not pigment ink in the sense that Pitt Pens and the Staedtler pens are. So I've got a sort of a medium and or a light and a medium green here. I'm going to take the caps off the brush ends. I'm going to put down a layer of the light first. A little bit of the, it's not exactly dark, it's more neon-y, but yeah, I can't. What if I just put down this one first and try and pull it out? Yeah, that doesn't work. I mean, you know what? It's not bad. I think I'm getting, I don't know if you'd call it a blend. I think I'm just kind of maybe saturating the fibers of the paper so that, you know what, we're going to let that dry a bit. Maybe I'll do a few more leaves. But saturating the fibers of the paper so that it almost looks blended. I just don't know if it is. I'm not, when you're working with Pitt Pens and the Staedtler pens, you can actually see the ink move. I mean, you can see it when you're, you know, when you're dragging and pulling, you can see that you're moving that ink. I'm not seeing that here. These are fiber nibs and they're actually already starting to fray. We've colored just a few tiny leaves. Ah, well, disappointing, but yeah. Let's do some up here. I didn't think for $20 for 36 pens they would be pigment ink, but I mean, you never know. Ooh, see, like that, I almost dropped the pen. Okay, so I'm going to scribble off my light colored one. Actually, as I'm scribbling it off, it didn't even pick up. You guys are seeing. I was just scribbling it off right there. I don't even see any darker colored ink on the tip. So I don't think it was moving any of the darker colored ink on the page. I just don't think so. Now that we're zoomed in, you can even see. So here's, oops, sorry. Here's where I was blending the Staedtler and the Faber-Castell pigment inks. And there's where I was trying to blend these ones. You see the difference? So, and I mean, this you might say, well, these, you know, these colors are closer. But what did I have? I had, this was my lighter color. that was my darker color. So they're not that close. And I mean, even if you wanted, so let's say, let's go even lighter. So let's take Pitt. This is 171 light green, and let's blend out this 57 olive green. Let's see if we can do that. Again, this is just straight up this copier paper. Let's put down the dark one first. Can you see? And I mean, and as I scribble it off, you can see the darker pigment on there. That's a pretty light green. So it does look speckly. That's to be expected. And even if we're looking here, if I can I zoom in anymore? I don't know if I can. A little bit. But the lighting though. So you can see on here, these leaves at the top, there's actually not even a lot of difference between the Pitt pens and the Staedtler pens. There is a bit of a speckly aspect to the ink when you look really close. I don't mind it. You actually get less of that speckliness with these water-based pens, but I don't know. I'm not seeing the ink move with those ones. Yeah, again, I'm just guessing. There's no way without, knowing the formulation of what they have and what they've produced, there's no way of me saying these are not pigment-based inks. These are, I know they are, and they're priced accordingly. Pigment-based inks are going to be more expensive than dye-based inks. They just are. These, I don't know, they said pigment, non-acrylic, but maybe because they're a Chinese brand, maybe their definition of pigment just, maybe they're using it to mean colorant, right? I don't know, I'm guessing. Whereas, we use dye and pigment differently, or at least, I mean, from a technical aspect we do, right? I don't think these are pigment-based. I don't think these are India ink. I don't think these are pigment-based ink. I think they are just, like I say, kind of a nice set. I don't think there's anything wrong with the set. I think you can get bigger sets for a comparable amount of money. I don't know if the case is worth it. It's a nice case and it's got bigger loops. So, I mean, if you wanted to put a 36 set of something else in here, because a lot of the pencil cases that we buy don't fit markers and pens, the loops are too close together. This one will, obviously. So if you had, a different set of markers that you wanted to store in here. Now, I don't think you could store, these are about the size of a Tombow. They're too long, right? So you couldn't put your Tombows in here. Could you get away with the Lyras? Just. Just. They would fit. I mean, if you had a 36 set of the Staedtler, they just come in cardboard box packaging. It's very environmentally friendly, but there's no case, there's no anything. So, I mean, if you had a 36 set and you wanted to get this just for the case, it would still be $20 US for this case, which seems a little pricey, but yeah. No, I just wanted to take a look because, like I say, I was curious because, that viewer had very, very kindly pointed out that they had seen these Tuli Art markers being advertised as pigment. I lost my little sheet again. It actually had pigment on the description. Yeah, pigment-based, non-acrylic brush markers. Now, the non-acrylic part, I think they wanted to make sure people understood that these weren't like they have their acrylic brush markers with, it's more gouache-like consistency paint that comes out, but I think they wanted to make sure people understood that wasn't these, but I don't think they're pigment-based. I don't think they're comparable, at least from my little bit of testing here. I don't think they're comparable to either the Pitt pens or the Staedtler pens. So, just a quick video, although me being me, we've been going 30 minutes. I just am chatty. Sorry about that. But yeah, just a little video to do a little bit of blending there, test out these pens, see if they truly were pigment pens. I don't think they are. If you like what you're seeing, consider liking the video, subscribing to my channel, clicking that notification bell, leaving a comment. Have you guys been doing some pigment pen coloring? Have you been doing any coloring with your Pitt pens or with your Staedtler pens? How's it going? I'd love to hear from you. That's it for now. So I hope everyone is safe, I hope everyone is well, and I hope everyone is enjoying their coloring. Until next time, guys. Bye.